to the Blue Review. After a win over the Angels, it was a little bit harder than we thought it was going to be. A lot of positives, but why don't you tell us about LAX first, Marcus?
Let's do that. As always, the Blue Review is presented by LAX at Los Angeles International Airport. Changes are arriving daily to reduce traffic, save guest time, and transform the travel experience. More info at flylax.com/transforminglAX.
Yeah, so there was a lot of stuff going on yesterday. It was a very tough game for the Dodgers for whatever reason, but still at the same time, Shohei keeps showing that he's ridiculous and keeps doing weird random things that make him like, oh, that's all he's got. Like the 81 extra base hits, that's the most in his career, and it's the beginning of September. That's kind of crazy. Walker Buehler looked good. I mean, but let's start with Shohei.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with Shohei, right? Another big night. He gets the welcome back to Anaheim. I guess they finally decided to, kind of give him a nice welcome on the big board there. Definitely helped that it was probably more Dodger fans than Angel fans in the building last night, so he got a nice ovation when he came to the plate. But after that, he went on about doing Shohei things, getting extra base hits, making things happen at the top of the lineup. Even to the point that just his presence helped the Dodgers in the 10th inning, right? I mean, he comes to the plate, they put him on first base, sets Mookie up for the 3-run home run that ends up basically putting the final nail in the coffin. So just ho-hum, another night for Shohei Ohtani. Although I think I'm sure you're watching the broadcast, they made the point that this might have been the first meaningful game he's ever played in September in Angel Stadium.
Yeah, I did hear that. I did. It was great. That was Karros, right? He was.
Yeah, I think it was. That's wild, but it's also pretty much true.
Yeah, it was very, very true. Yeah, but imagine that he was there for what, 6 years, 7 years, 7 years, and this was the only meaningful game he ever played because he was on another team. That's just a ridiculous statement, all of in of itself. But you mentioned Mookie too, like. He just does these things, especially right now. It's with runners on, with runners in scoring position, with 2 outs. The guy just hits. It was to get to one of the runs across in the first inning. Was it the first inning? I don't remember, first or third. It was actually the third inning, I believe, right? Yeah, third inning is the first pitch he saw after Shohei got over to hit the triple and just bang right in there, 2-0 Dodgers. He just keeps coming through, and the fact of the matter is, 2 outs in the 10th inning and hitting the 3-run home run, it just right after you intentionally walk Shohei, that's what makes this team so ridiculous at times, is that the fact is, no matter what, you can't just sleep on one. Oh, Shohei's so good, we don't want to give him that moment. Let's go to Mookie Betts, who's an MVP in 2 different leagues.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really is insane, like how deep this lineup is and how treacherous the top part of the lineup is, right? I mean, we have the 3 MVPs sitting at the top of that lineup. I mean, like, all things considered, yeah, I know Teoscar had the 5-hit game the other day in Arizona, but he's kind of been in a little bit of a slump, I think, recently. But you still can't sleep on him because he can break out at any time. I still believe that despite his struggles, Will Smith is going to figure out when to get hits in big situations. I mean, we keep saying it, the lineup is so long, but more importantly, with the 3 guys at the top and having it be a left situation, it makes it just really, really hard to pitch to those guys, which I guess, by the way, is another reason to keep Shohei in that leadoff spot, because then it's hard to play matchups because you do go left, right, and I guess left, right when you look at the top 4 guys in that lineup.
Yeah, it's left, right. But even so, we've talked about it before. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a lefty or a righty for those 4 guys. That's just, they're going to hit who they're going to hit. Like, they go both ways. It doesn't matter to them. But yeah, you mentioned Will Smith too in there. He's been hitting the ball really, really hard recently, and he had been hitting the ball for about a week really hard. And so now it's all starting to kind of start coming around for Will Smith. He was struggling really, really hard, but I think now he's starting to find his groove and starting to find his swing again. So that if you're doing that and he becomes your 5th hitter, and now it goes all the way 1 through 5, and then Muncie's playing well, and Edmonds had been playing well until yesterday. It's just, the line just keeps going and going and going and going. But can we go to Walker Buehler for just a second here?
Yeah, please. Let's.
I specifically have been very, very hard on Walker Buehler. This is a second appearance from Walker Buehler that I said, okay, this is looking good. He got through 5. He was around 82, 83 pitches, and he probably could have gone another, but it was better that he didn't. But either way, he actually looked good. That curveball was basically devastating to those guys yesterday. He did give the 2 solos, which I'm okay with solos every once in a while because it's a solo. It's when you guys get on base that you mitigate those home runs. So I really liked what I saw out of Walker, and that's a second straight appearance, especially now with Kershaw on the IL. I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. Yeah. Walker Buehler being Walker Buehler again. If he is there, I don't know if he's truly there yet, but if he is there, that is monstrous for this team.
Absolutely. And again, he did what he was supposed to do in that outing, right? And I know that, there may be some people out there who are like, well, yeah, he did it against the Angels. But, the flip side to that is if he went out last night and got shelled, it would have been, he can't even get it done against the Angels. What are we doing here? So he went out and he gave them the performance that he needed to give. And what I loved is after he gave up the first home run, the way he just locked in, I think he struck out the next 3 guys right after that. He gives up the home run and just really locked in, because in the poor starts that we've seen in the past, when something like that happens, we would see it snowball a little bit, right? Because then he followed up with a walk or, a couple of hits, like an extra base hit here or there. And suddenly that 1 run turns into 3 or 4 runs. So the fact that he was able to kind of get himself back together again, come back and look fierce, that to me meant a lot. And to see him get through 5 in a relatively low pitch count there, he ran into a little bit of trouble in that 5th inning, gave up the home run, had a couple guys on base, but still was able to get out of it without any further damage. It's definitely progressing. I would think, I don't think, and I'm guessing you probably think the same way, I don't know that it's good enough to get him on the playoff roster yet, but it's definitely good enough to keep giving him starts through September until we get to the end of the year.
Yeah, and so he can earn that spot onto the postseason roster. He's not there yet. I totally am with you on that. But you're right. I was watching the game. There was a time when he gave up a hit, and then there was a walk, and there's a couple things like, oh no, this is where it's going to start to happen. He's going to start to fall apart, and he just went the exact opposite way. He was throwing strikes. He was throwing that curveball in different places that people just couldn't catch up to. The cutter was the problem today. I think in the last start, he was using the cutter much, much less in order to get guys out. He was using it as the out pitch. And in yesterday's game, he seemed to be using it more as just a regular pitch, and people were catching up to it and hitting it. So he every single time I thought that he was going to start to get into trouble and give up those runs you're talking about, he got a strikeout or 2 strikeouts. And it was close to the guy that we're looking for, because he's not going to blow people away. He's not going to be somebody that is, throwing 98, 99 and is just overpowering guys. He now has to pitch, and it seems as he has started to learn to pitch.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. And that was the thing that he even admitted early in the year after, a couple of the first wonky starts that he had, that, understanding that he can't be the same guy that he was. Certainly before this most recent surgery, but even before the first surgery, it just was starting to go away a little bit. I remember, what was it, the quote he said? Something to the effect of, I have to start listening to people now. And so maybe that's what it is. Maybe he has started to sort of listen to other people, but more importantly, maybe listening to his own body, listening to his arm, and kind of figuring out what it is he can do. Because, he'll have those moments when he can still touch, kind of the mid 90s or whatever, but he can't be that guy for 5 or 6 innings anymore. So he does have to mix in the breaking ball. He does have to go off speed and sort of learn to work corners a little bit more. And then I think, he'll have a couple moments a game where he can just crank it up and throw it by somebody. But that just can't be his go-to anymore. It's just not going to be there because, one, he doesn't have the same velocity. He doesn't have the same movement. Guys are actually starting to catch up to that. So these are all positive steps, right? I mean, and at a time when they need it. So is it Bobby Miller tonight?
Yeah, it's Bobby Miller tonight.
So he's sort of the next one, right? Like, can he sort of keep what's been a pretty good string recently going? Because he's another one who, is just trying to figure out how to get himself back to where he was at the start of the season.
Yeah, these guys pitching well. You're talking about Bobby Miller. If he pitches well tonight, him and the performance you got out of Walker Buehler last night gives you some space to give them more starts, where we were worried about maybe you can't get any more, because if you start losing and causing the division to start shrinking down, it could be a problem. But because of that, Yamamoto pitched last night and went 2 innings and gave up 2 runs. All came in the first, and he settled down in the second. But when those things happen, you give him another start in rehab, which I don't agree with, actually, if we'll get into that in a second. But maybe you can give Glasnow a little bit more time because he pitched off a mound and supposedly looked really good. Maybe he has to go on a rehab assignment. So those things, you can allow yourself more of those rehab assignments because they both pitched well. The problem is Justin Wrobleski got just absolutely blasted away on Sunday, so bringing him back up may not be possible. But to go to Yamamoto for just a second, he should come up at some point. I think even now, I know he's only given 2 innings each time. Yeah. He's got to get major league hitters out, and we're going to be in the middle of September by the time he comes up. He needs major league hitter, and you have a piggyback on it or something along those lines. But no matter what, I don't think he should be anymore in AAA OKC because we need to see what he can do against good teams.
Yeah, and I still think they need. I would feel better if he had at least 2, possibly 3 starts in the regular season.
Agreed.
By the time they get to the playoffs, so I'm kind of with you. I know that the start yesterday was not great. He goes 2 innings, was like 52 pitches, 36 strikes, gave up a couple of runs, had a few walks in there. So it was not a clean outing by any stretch of the imagination. But I think at this point it was just more about trying to get him some work, and I think you bring him up and you hope he can get you through 4, maybe 5 innings ideally, at least his first time around, and you just try to stretch him out a little bit more each time. I also think this is sort of the beauty of where the Dodgers are right now too, getting 3 out of 4 in Arizona, being able to extend that lead a little bit to give you at least a touch of breathing room. Had it gone the other way and you're leaving Arizona with like a 2 or 3 game lead, you're a little bit nervous about something like this. But right now, things look good, right? What are you, 5.5 over the Padres, 6 over the Diamondbacks? So you do have a little bit of room to play with, and so maybe you can sort of let Yamamoto work himself out in the majors.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's, I agree with you. That's probably something that they should do. I'd also like this. What we saw yesterday was just nice to see all the way around. I understand that they couldn't get hits against Reed Detmers. Yeah. He pitched extremely well. 10 strikeouts. They could not touch him for the most part. Yeah. Which I don't get how sometimes these things just happen.
Yeah, I don't. It was funny because like he goes through the first inning. They get a guy on. He walks a guy. Second inning, they get a couple guys on. At some point, I'm like, okay, well, they're putting the ball in play. They seem to be hitting it hard. Like the runs will come. They score those 2 runs to take the lead. And I'm like, all right, well, this is the beginning. This is how it starts. And they just couldn't touch him. They could not touch him the rest of the night. I don't know if that, if the emotion from the weekend, it just kind of sapped the team's energy or whatever. They just, it just seemed like they were a little bit lethargic yesterday. Fortunately, they were playing a team that really couldn't score. Not only did Buehler pitch well, but the bullpen retired all 15 guys that they faced in the game. So that kind of kept them close until they were able to get the big blow in the 10th inning. But yeah, I'm with you. I just assumed, hey man, they'll figure out a way to put 5-6 runs up on Detmers and everything will be fine. It just never happened.
That's exactly what I was thinking. But and you're right. You just went through a massive 7-game stretch against teams that are going to be very much involved in the postseason, and they all felt like postseason games. To then come and play the Angels, it was like, okay, we can relax. And it's like, oh no, we can't relax. We still got to go out and win these games. So that's what it felt like for me. But then the other dude, what's that closer's name? Ben Joyce.
Joyce. 105.5. What is that?
And it was dotted. It was dotted in the left corner. It was like, that was a ridiculous pitch. And I saw online that was the fastest thrown strike in Major League history. Because Aroldis Chapman had 2 that were faster, but they were not strikes. So the fastest thrown strike in Major League history. And Tommy Edman was like, what do you want me to do with this?
I'm like, hey man, I'm Tommy Edman. Like, save that for Shohei. Like, what are you doing, man? Like, what's happening here?
God, it was ridiculous. I mean, I feel so bad for him to even be on the Angels. I'm going to throw a little Angel shade at you, Parker. I know you're back in there now. Like, it feels bad for him. What is he doing there? Like, and even you actually probably want to keep him there, but couldn't you get something for him? I feel like if you traded him in the offseason, you could get a bunch of good stuff for that guy. Throwing 106 on the radar gun, get out of here.
Just filthy, man. Because even he threw one to Will Smith, like 104, that was like dotted upper inside corner. I'm like, what are you going to do with that? Like you can't elevate the bat. And you can't get your hands in enough to hit that. If he can consistently, paint on the black and hit the corners at 104, 105, again, he might not be here for a long time, but he'll be there for a good time if you can continue to do stuff like that.
Absolutely. That's it. The fact that he was actually throwing strikes with it is what actually boggles my mind.
Yeah.
It was really intense, just insanely. But on the other side, the pitch, the relief you mentioned, there was 15 outs. Because what you did over the weekend where they managed their bullpen so well, you got Hudson, Phillips, Trinan, Kopech, and Brazier all the pitch in that game to make sure that it was stopped at the 2 runs that Walker gave up. That was really nice to see, and it was really good to see people like Phillips continue to look good, even though it wasn't in a later inning situation. Hudson, who had a lot of time off, come in and look good again. Trinan, who had a lot of time off, look good. Have some of that unhittable stuff that he had before. It's all starting to come together, Marcus.
It is. Although you had you put in the text chain the same thing that I was thinking about, using Kopech in a 9th inning situation where the game was tied, and I guess the idea was, hey, look, we're going to use him to get it to extras. But at that point, I thought to myself, like, well, now what happens in extras? Because at this point, you've burned Hudson, you've burned Phillips, you've burned Trinan, now you've burned Kopech. What do you do in a 10th inning situation? Fortunately, the Dodgers made it a 4-run game, so it didn't really matter as much. I mean, you bring in Brazier and, shout out to Ryan Brazier, by the way, for getting through that inning without even allowing the ghost runner to score. But I was with you. I'm like, okay, so now what do you do if you take if it were a 3-2 game or a 4-2 game, what do you do? Because you've burned the 4 guys that could potentially come in and be your sort of closer in that situation. I guess fortunately it didn't have to come to that.
Yeah, and luckily Brazier was there, but they probably could have gone to Alex Vesia, who had pitched a couple times over the last. But the fact of the matter is, I will never not get angry about that. I've said it too many times. But I just don't understand if he is your closer. I guess they haven't actually said he is the closer.
They have not.
They have not. So
we have said that, but they have not said
we are saying that's what it is because that is the right thing to do. Michael Kopech is the closer. So if I just fully believe if you are a closer, you should only come in closing situations. And he got out of it. He didn't have any issues. He actually didn't have any strikeouts either, but he didn't give up any hits, walks, none of that stuff. It's fine.
It's fine.
I just got to breathe sometimes, Marcus.
It's fine. Side note, by the way, to all of that, I mentioned, the fact that Brazier gets through the 10th inning without even allowing the 1 run to score. Look, Mookie made as big a play there. I mean, obviously he hits the home run in the top of the 10th inning, but he catches the fly ball in right and fires a strike to the plate that prevents the runner from tagging up from third. At that point, then you get a pop up to the first base and then a fly ball to left to end it. So, Mookie not only gets a deciding hit in this thing, but also makes a huge play in right field just to keep because I saw that fly ball and I'm like, all right, whatever. You concede the run. It's 1 out. Bases are empty. You just shut it down. But Mookie keeps the guy at third base, and they don't even score that inning.
Yeah, Mookie Betts just is such a great player, and having him back. We talked about it earlier. It makes such a difference. But that's also what moving him to right field does for this team in general. You now have your Gold Glove right fielder back, who has a tremendous arm and really is just one of the best right fielders in the game. So that's kind of where you're at in these situations. Now we've talked about it a bunch too, is that you have this defense now that is Gold Glovers everywhere. When Kiermaier's in the game, Gold Glove center fielder. Mookie's a Gold Glove right fielder. Edmund has been a Gold Glover in the infield, but he's also a very good defensive player. Freddie Freeman, I believe, is a Gold Glover at first base. I'm pretty sure he's an excellent first baseman. Yeah. Gavin Stone's looking good. Teoscar's not a Gold Glove left fielder. He's not the greatest left fielder, but you can also hide left field. He's also very, very serviceable out there. He made a couple running catches yesterday that, a lot of people are not going to be making. So Muncy playing third is really your only kind of issue there. But Kike goes in there and he actually plays a very, very good third base. What they've done is they've built a defensive team and they built it around pitching and defense. And obviously, your lineups are the same. They built a fully almost perfect team.
Yeah. no, this Death Star is almost completely operational.
Yeah,
I mean, at this point, and even to the point of Max Muncy, I mean, he has shown improvement at third base. I mean, that was one of the things we talked about early in the season before he got hurt, that, he had spent a lot of time in the offseason working on his glove over there, and it was starting to show. Obviously, we didn't see it for, 2+ months because he was hurt. So yeah, he's not the defensive third baseman that you're going to get out of Kike or somebody, even Chris Taylor. But he's serviceable over there, and then obviously what he gives you with the bat more than makes up for it. So no, this is, and you'd mentioned this before, this is as good a defensive team as we have seen from the Dodgers in a really, really long time. Obviously, we know they can score runs, and if the pitching can get back to some level of health, I mean, this team is going to be as difficult as anybody to figure out when it comes to October.
Yeah, it's got to make you feel good about what's going to happen in October. I mean, I never want to get too excited because we've seen so many things happen in the postseason that makes it like, just slow down. And also, I'm supposed to be the negative guy, Marcus. I can't be the positive guy about this team too. It's got to go. I got to stick one way or the other, right? But no, I'm loving what I can see out of this stuff. And Parker, if you're there, if you can have a chance to just jump on, because he's going to be at the game tonight. He's going down to the Big A for ESPN LA. And I just want to know kind of like what you're looking for if you are available. If not,
Oh, there he is.
Hey, there's the man himself with the orange hat. Yeah. 450 plus. He has 99 home runs at Angel Stadium. So if he gets that 450 plus, that's a full 100 at Angel Stadium. How's that?
100. It'd be a 100 at Angel Stadium, and also be number 45 on the year. It would be the first 45-45 guy too.
That's right. How does that make you feel, by the way, now that you're here for just a moment, seeing him do so well, even better than he's ever done on the Angels offensively? We can't say both because he pitched and did both, but seeing him do so much for this team that he wasn't doing over there.
Also, they couldn't hear me mess with the Angels, so you know what? It's not all that bad. I wasn't just talking trash on my team, but
oh, you were on mute, Parker.
But you know what? It was really cool. I'm excited to be there. Greg was saying I'm going to be there tonight, so I will let you guys know. I'll get footage of that home run when he hits it. Jazz Meat, I saw you in the chat saying he's going to hit 450 plus, so I believe that, and I'm excited to see it. But the way that it makes me feel to just see that Ohtani's doing so well on the Dodgers, and we had 6+ years of this, 7 years. I don't know. I mean, me as a baseball fan, I'm more so just we're seeing a legend of the game, one of the best players to ever live, and I applaud that. I'm more just upset with Artie and the poverty franchise that the Angels are. It has nothing to do with Shohei. I would have loved to have seen Decoy in Anaheim, but I'm happy that he's having fun in LA.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you get to Angel Stadium and you see Parker walking around, go find him. He'll buy you a beer.
Yeah, sure.
He gets paid so much here that he can just buy everybody.
Let's just buy the whole thing. Rounds on me.
Let's get a beer train going. Let's get the from the falls over there at Anaheim all the way down to the right field line. I love that.
Yeah. So, all right. So we got another one tonight. Obviously, you're going to be there. Any final thoughts on tonight's game with Bobby Miller, Marcus?
Other than just hopefully he can sort of kind of build on what he's been doing recently. Ideally it would be nice to see the offense sort of come to life early and not have us kind of biting our nails a little bit in the late innings. I mean, Griffin Canning has not had a great year. His last few starts have not been particularly great. So, let the offense get going early, give Miller a little bit of cushion, let him get comfortable, and, hopefully just sweep this 2-game set.
Be great to see us sweeping them, because I feel like every single year the Dodgers do not sweep 2-game sets against the Angels. It usually goes the other way. I don't know why it happens, but not right now, and that's what the most important thing. All right, so we'll be back here tomorrow, 9:30 to 9:55. Remember, next week starts when we're at 8:30 in the morning. Next Monday starts 8:30 in the morning for Blue Review, so be here every single day next week at 8:30 for the rest of this week at 9:30 a.m., and we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you to LAX. Marcus, thank you. Parker, thank you, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
See you.
See you. Bye.